the supernatural.
Download the Legacy Edition of Spirit Blade, a full past audio drama, for free at spiritblade.com.
Well, my editing skills are crap, but can the same thing be said about the Netflix original movie, The Old Guard? Stick around and find out. Here we are, born to be kings, we're the princes of the universe. That was terrible. Hi, I'm Peter Franson from christiangeekcentral.com and Spirit Blade Productions. This is my uncut review of Netflix's original movie, The Old Guard. The synopsis on IMDb reads, led by a warrior named Andy, played by Charlize Theron, or something, a covert group of tight-knit mercenaries with a mysterious inability to die have fought to protect the mortal world for centuries. But when the team is recruited to take on an emergency mission and their extraordinary abilities are suddenly exposed, it's up to Andy and Niall, the newest soldier to join their ranks, to help the group eliminate the threat of those who seek to replicate and monetize their power by any means necessary. Alright, so this is a solid action movie as far as, what this animal basically is. It's got action movie pacing and stuff, and it's solid for all that it is. It's I just found it to be that was all right, but very forgettable. There were character moments that felt very forced and out of the blue, or there would be a moment that seemed to set up something that would pay off later, and then that just never happened. And so I have real questions about kind of how the script came together, or maybe how the movie was edited and what decisions were made, what was motivating decisions made for editing. So yeah, it was just kind of a movie that was there to me, but not really memorable at all. The characters all felt like character types, kind of filling slots that they didn't have layers to them really. I mean, it's not to say that they didn't have anything of interest or that they weren't kind of haunted or whatever, but we've seen all these kinds of characters before. It's definitely not something that I think a person would watch for a character-driven experience. There's plenty of action, but I didn't find it to be especially stylized or interesting. It was well put together, but again, not memorable. It made me want to watch the Highlander series because of just the lore and how they would pull from the long history of these characters through flashback sequences and stuff. And so and also over time with the TV series, there's the lore of the Watchers and all that kind of stuff. And it seems like with this movie, there is probably some lore, some things that they will want to do in the future. It clearly is a setup for a hoped franchise. You can see that by the end of the movie. But I think even in this movie, I expected and wanted, something more about the lore of these characters and their histories in the world. I don't know. It just felt like it was a good movie, but if for all the things that are good about it, I've seen it done as good, or in some cases even better, in other movies I've seen, other franchises. It didn't bring anything new. It didn't raise the bar for me in any way. As far as the cast and the performances, I thought the performances were all fine. But again, they largely felt like they were filling slots as character types. I didn't feel like there was a lot of subtext or things that weren't on the page in actually the words of dialogue that were being brought to the characters to flesh them out. And so I didn't find the performances very interesting. Not bad or stilted or stale. I just didn't find them interesting performances that brought out any nuance or subtext in the characters. Any subtext, I don't mean that literally. Obviously, these are, a solid actor is always going to bring some degree of subtext, and they certainly did. But nothing really rich that wasn't, immediately in the dialogue. All right, so let's talk about the stunts and the visuals. The choreography, good. There was even a few moments where like, oh, that was a neat moment, but it wasn't anything that was really groundbreaking or uniquely visionary. And it wasn't like summer blockbuster good. I think I'm starting to get a sense, I've seen enough of these Netflix movies now to get a sense of where the budget is and kind of what the limitations are and what they can do. They're certainly better than, standard TV movie fare, although do people even make those kinds of TV movies anymore? There's so much of these premium channels, that seems to be where it's going. But the gulf, I guess what I'm saying, is not as wide between a Netflix original movie in its production values and a theatrical release in the same way that gulf used to be between TV movies and theatrical releases. But I am starting to get used to like what the limitations are and what I can and cannot expect from production values in a premium original movie for a streaming platform like Netflix. And so seeing those limitations, and kind of getting to know them a bit kind of makes me all the more aware of them. Maybe I'll be able to kind of let that go. I think it would help in projects like this if they really gave more attention to the script and the story and really be something interesting. I remember there was a non-geek movie that had a few stars in it. I can't remember the name of it now, but it had Ben Affleck in it, and it was kind of like these mercenaries on missions and stuff. And it looks from the trailer like just a standard kind of like action movie, but that script plays out with just interesting turn of events one after the other, and I think that's a really good example of what can be done on Netflix, and I don't think this movie is a great example of really how you play to the strengths of a limited budget, limited resources. So I found that the cinematography was varied and artistic, but not in a way that stands out. It was just solid. All of it solid but forgettable, I guess, is like the main way I would describe this experience. As far as relevance, is there anything of moral, philosophical, or spiritual significance going on in the themes of this thing that might trigger some worthwhile thought or conversation? Maybe, but it's hard to identify themes that they actually committed to and carried out over any kind of length of time. The rookie immortal in the story is in an early scene scoffed at for as she's dealing with the trauma of what's happening to her, of praying. Charlize Theron's character is like the grizzled old veteran that's been immortal for the longest period of time, and she doesn't believe in God. She's like, there's nothing else out there, and scoffing her. But the rookie affirms, well, I believe that my God exists, and I thought that thread was going to be followed up on because, we have this rookie who is, in this kind of story is usually going to bring some new, fresh perspective, is going to help strip away the jadedness of the characters that have been in the story world for a longer period of time. And there is some of that happens, but I thought that it was going to go further, that in some way that moment, since it was such a kind of a standout moment, like, oh, are they going to bring back her belief in God? Are we going to have a similar scene between the two where Charlize Theron says, all right, well, maybe there's something out there, or maybe I don't know, or whatever. But that was never come back to. And so it was a weird kind of moment to be at the center of this scene, and or at least at a big opening part of that scene, and it to not be followed up on thematically. I wonder if something maybe hit the cutting room floor there. The immortals are treated as outcasts who are persecuted throughout history, notably in a pivotal scene in which they are specifically persecuted by Christians, witches, burn them, that kind of thing. And what was interesting to me is that two of the immortal characters are a male gay couple, and they are sort of, out of all the group, singled out and tortured in a way and clearly dehumanized by the villains in this story. They are mocked for their love for each other in a scene where one of them, at some poetic length, expresses the depths of his love. On a purely writing note, it felt like a very forced and inserted moment. And it also, as I was reflecting on it, I was like, yeah, this would have seemed weird and forced, even if this were like a heterosexual couple. It just felt like this weird moment in this scene that was inserted. So I can't help but wonder if that was kind of an agenda moment in the writing, if these characters are intended and their circumstances intended to be a metaphor for what many gay people feel in the way that they are treated by those who pass judgment on them. And, I don't agree with or support the pursuit of homosexual romance and homosexual attraction, even if it feels like a very natural thing. But rather than merely be, frustrated when we see these kinds of agendas expressed in entertainment, I think it's good for us as Christians to try and hear the genuine hurt, even if we don't understand it, to try and hear the genuine hurt behind, even inartfully and forced LGBTQ agenda moments in entertainment. Like this one may or may not have been. I honestly don't know, because as I said, other moments felt very inserted and forced and, weird in this story. So I don't know if this was, a strong agenda moment. But I think even in times in video games and movies, any kind of entertainment, when we sense maybe that's what's going on, to check our hearts and try to hear and feel and appreciate the genuine hurt behind what is going on there in the creative work, and consider then how we can respond with genuine love and felt compassion, as we at the same time are holding to truth. Livingout.org is a great resource, I think, for those Christians who want to be better equipped to navigate those really difficult waters. So livingout.org, I recommend you check out if that would be relevant to you. Okay, I have no idea what your tastes in movies are, but if I were a time traveler, I'd go back in time and say, Peter, skip this one for now until you come to a time where you happen to have Netflix that month and there's just nothing else, really that you're interested in watching. This would be one that you could even put on while you're doing something else. It's not one you're going to really want to dedicate your whole attention to. It's just not an experience that's going to grab you and be worth giving it your full attention. But maybe while you're doing something else and you have nothing else to watch. It's not a bad movie, just very forgettable. Although, if the sequel ends up happening and it looks cool in the trailers, then definitely give this one a watch, just so you can know the backstory, and hopefully the sequel will be something that you'll enjoy a lot more. It's rated R for sequences of graphic violence and language. All right, those are my thoughts. I'd love to get yours in the comments below. Please like, share, subscribe, click that notification bell to stay connected. Anything you want to do to share this content, I'd really be grateful for. I want to thank the Spirit Blade Insiders for making this review possible. You can get more information about the benefits of becoming an insider over at patreon.com/spiritbladeproductions. And then, of course, I hope you'll join us soon over at christiangeekcentral.com as we continue to geek out and seek the truth. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. We've got a ton going on here at Spirit Blade Productions and Christian Geek Central, including our in-depth Bible study for geeks, movie, game, and other entertainment reviews or commentary, live streams, Christian geek news, original audio dramas, and tons more. And on top of all that, you can become a Spirit Blade insider with an influential voice and get access to exclusive content and rewards. It's your involvement as a patron that will keep all of this going and growing. So I want to thank you for your consideration in that. For more information, please check out our Patreon page through the link below at patreon.com/spiritbladeproductions. Thanks for listening.